Hello, good evening. Welcome to episode 27 of the Woolong Talks podcast. Hi, my name's Jason. Glad to have you guys with us again. Sorry if my voice sounds a bit messed up, but I've got a bit of a cold, unfortunately. So if you hear me coughing or scratching or blowing my nose or anything like that, I do apologize. I'm trying my best and I'm going to soldier on because I'm a professional. That's what I do. As always, I'm joined by Big A, the Manc Geek. Big A, say
Good
what's up.
evening, hello, konnichiwa, and any other greeting in any other language that you desire.
And we've got the return of the Rustling Kid, aka Rich Kid, aka Rich Reviews. Rich, say what's up, man.
Wagwan. Wagwan.
Wicked, wicked. Nice to have the band back together. It's always nice, man. Rich Kid, how you been, man? What you been up to?
Well, basically, I haven't even been ill, but I don't know if like, the last time I was on a podcast, I didn't have a busted foot, did I?
No, you didn't.
Or did I?
No.
Yeah. So basically, yeah. So I did one of the Ninja Assault Course races. This is a good few weeks ago now. And then basically after I completed the course, me and a couple of friends were just messing about on one of the obstacles, and I literally just fell down wrong. I ended up rupturing my Achilles heel in my right foot. Been in a plaster cast and crutches, and I've just had that taken off last week. Now I'm in like one of those boots with the wedges. So I've been just chilling, really, just trying to catch up on some TV here and there, a couple of comic books, and just still trying to maintain training and stuff, and try not to go sane because everything right now in life is super slow. And you know me, I don't like to be left behind and shit.
Well, we know, man. You don't deal with restrictions. You don't do boundaries. So yeah, I could imagine that must be hard for you. So listeners, if you follow Richard on social media, give him some sympathy and show him some love, man, because he needs it right now. But yeah, man, it's been good. It's good to get everybody back, as said, and it's great that we've got back together at a time where there's so much news coming out for the kind of movies and the TVs that we love, and hopefully you listeners love too. So we're going to go over some of that today on today's show. In particular, we're going to talk about a big event that just passed called the D23 Expo. For those of you that don't know, this is Disney Studios. This is their big event that they host annually in Anaheim, in California. And it's an event basically just to design for them to showcase their wares. Their wares in this case being, all of the kind of big properties that they own, any developments in sort of movie, TV, animation, toys, games, all kinds of things like that. Any kind of big developments that involves the Disney brand are usually showcased at D23. On today's show, we're going to focus a little bit more on the movie side, and I'll mention a couple of animations and upcoming sort of animated movies and stuff a little bit later on. But we'll focus primarily on the movie side because, as I said, there's been some big stuff that's come out of that expo. So let's get right into it. Well, actually, before we do that, we should probably also mention as well there was some big news on the home front over here in the UK as well recently, in that Doctor Who came to an end. And with the end of the series, there was an announcement regarding the new Doctor. So we have a new Doctor. Alvin, could you tell us a little bit about who the new Doctor is and
Yes,
what your
so
thoughts are?
so yeah, the new Doctor is going to be played by Jodie Whittaker, who is a woman, and yeah, this is the
No.
first time. This is the first time that a woman has played the Doctor. So it's been a big fuss, which is really weird considering that actually not too many people online were kind of going on about it in a kind of nasty way. They're just like, yeah, I don't really feel it. Both male and females were saying that they don't feel it, but then everyone else was jumping on the people who saying they weren't feeling it and saying obviously sexism, blah blah. So obviously when your reports on it, it turns into this whole thing about sexism. But I think deep down inside, people have their opinions. Some people feel like the Doctor should always be a male. Some are like, well, it's a science fiction show that has loose rules anyway, so they can do what they want. And they've also established it as being canon anyway. Like literally, they've been driving it home in the last few series about Time Lord switching genders and that, switching sexes. Me, I'm not really that bothered. I just knew it was going to be a woman. So when they revealed it after the Wimbledon final, I wasn't super surprised. I was like, yeah, I kind of saw this coming. I just hope that they just tell good stories. Peter Capaldi, he didn't get particularly the best stories. So yeah, I just hope they just focus on telling good stories and like don't fucking rinse the whole fucking woman thing and try to make a big deal out of that and try to fucking be political here and there. Just focus on telling good, silly, over the top Doctor Who stories. That's all you need to do. Don't do any other shit. So yeah, I'm not in the whole grand scheme of things. I'm not really that bothered. I don't feel strongly about it either way.
Cool, fair enough. Yeah, I did. I mean, I'm not the biggest Doctor Who fan as people who know me know, but I did kind of notice, obviously, the kind of the media attention it was getting, as is normally the case anyway. Whenever there's a new Doctor in the UK, there's always a lot of media attention surrounding that. But certainly talking to people who are fans of the show, they all kind of felt that the show, whilst they still enjoyed it, it needed to be shaken up a little bit, and things needed to be taken in a slightly different direction. And my understanding is that the head writer has changed as well. Alf, is that correct?
Yeah, the showrunner's changed. It was Stephen Moffat. Now it's Chibnall, I think that's how you say his name. He's written episodes of Torchwood. I think he's written a few episodes in season 1 of Torchwood, and I think 1 or 2 of Doctor Who, if I remember correctly. But yeah, he's I think he also wrote like episodes of Broadchurch and that, so that's how he knows Jodie Whittaker. But yeah, hopefully he has some good stories in the bag, just like really good stories, because views have been declining for Doctor Who. Like 5 years ago, 10 million. Or 5 seasons ago, rather, you're getting like 10 million for like the openers, and then it'll decline to around 7 million for like the closing episode. Whereas now they're opening at around 7 and a bit million. You know what I mean? And then they're getting lower to about 5 for when they close, which is actually quite a big deal, because it used to be kind of on par with like EastEnders ratings wise, and EastEnders is like the biggest soap in the UK, whereas it has dwindled. I don't know if they can get viewers back. How are they going to do that? I have no idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I guess we'll have to wait and see, really. Rich, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm not really a big Doctor Who fan now. I mean, I know when more in it, I was kind of into it then, and then I watched a bit of like the big head Doctor Matt Smith. But I haven't really been a Doctor Who fan. No, his head was big, bro. His head was the TARDIS. I'm just gonna put it out there, man. But
you see, listeners, this kind of goal is why you've missed Rich reviews on this show. Sorry, go on,
but yeah, I mean, I haven't really been a fan of Doctor Who probably since the 80s. I think I basically grew up with like Tom Baker, Peter Davidson, and Sylvester McCoy. But I mean, it's good. I'm actually quite happy to see that a female Doctor has been put into place. I mean, if you take into account that it's the longest running sci-fi show in television history, it's about fucking time, isn't it? I don't know. I'm looking at it from like a bigger perspective, where, like you said, Capaldi had his fans, but it wasn't as well taken in as like the others, from what I can gather. Now with Jodie Whittaker, obviously saying, she only get the part because she was a female, and is she going to do a good job? And some people might turn off, which I hope is not the case. Now that we have had a female Doctor after all this time, is that going to be a thing of, well, listen, now that you've had your female Doctor, shut the fuck up, and when we get a next person, is going to go back to a guy? I'm just looking to see if this is going to be the beginning of like a bigger opening for the Doctor. So now we're going to get Doctor. Are we going to be able to have a Doctor with like who's a different sexual orientation, different maybe disabilities and stuff like that. So that's the reason why I'm really happy for Jodie Whittaker, because it seems like they've kind of quite a big step. Some people just say it's thing of like, it's just a female Doctor, but this is something quite big. Like if you take into account how long this show's been around and they've always had fans, they essentially could have done this quite some time ago. I'm actually gonna maybe start watching it and then see if she will spark my interest in the show again.
Cool. Yeah. I guess we'll wait and see. When does it restart, Alvin?
I think it restarts next year. I'm not sure as to whether it will come back in April, or as to whether they'll probably delay until the later part of 2018. I don't think there's been any words on there yet. But wait, what month are we in now? July?
Hmm.
It could possibly return in April, but I don't know for sure yet.
Right, cool.
Oh, and so here's another thing. This is how you know that the geek have inherited the earth. Although this is slightly deviating, but thinking about it now, you've got people like Stephen Fry. You've got the Queen, but Doctor Who is what you call a fucking national heritage. It's actually in a say like it's only when you said Jay that is always in the news when a new Doctor's gonna come. But that's the only time where fucking UK probably put shit to the side is when they're gonna fucking cast the new James Bond, yeah, and they're gonna cast the new Doctor Who, or let's say like one member of the royal family is gonna get married, who's gonna have a kid, or just happens to be going out with a person who's a different race. But that's only something recent. But it just shows you how far we've come. Reminds me of like how much people are paying attention now to things that they wouldn't have paid attention to fucking years ago. Imagine when the Doctor Who's are being cast, it was a bit of a thing, and then people just brush it to the side because it was just stupid sci-fi. And now you've got like it's plastered all over the place, and they put in adverts against fucking Wimbledon, which is and tennis is another national heritage sport that we have. Well, so we say. But just brainstorming there. I haven't been on the show for ages. I'm working from home, so I'm by myself 8 hours of the day. So I'm just fucking talking. So,
Well, bear in mind we're on a time limit here, so I'm gonna have to shut you off at certain points. But yeah, but no, I take your point, man. I mean, it's a fair point. As you said, it's an institution, Doctor Who. It is. It's one of the few sort of British institutions. So yeah, it's definitely whatever news surrounds that is you would expect would make a big splash with audiences. So yeah, as Alvin said, we'll wait and see next year what they deliver. But yeah, let's jump straight into the D23 news because that's what everybody's really wants us to start talking about. So yeah, as I was saying earlier, listeners, and for those of you who don't know, this was Disney's big event that they had the past weekend in California. And as you could expect, there was a heavy presence for a lot of the big kind of tentpole projects and things that they have. So that includes the brands that they own, like Marvel, the Star Wars brand, Pixar, and lots of the other things that come under the Disney umbrella as well. So we'll go through some of the big news, and I guess we're going to have to start at what is arguably the biggest news of it, which is Marvel's closing panel. I have to say, like Marvel, like they know they know how to kind of stamp their authority on things. They always seem to make sure that they're the last like people out or the last people to come on stage because they do it at San Diego Comic-Con all the time as well. They always make sure that they're the last ones in Hall H. To make sure that everybody goes home talking about them, and they do that too at D23 as well. They pretty much close out the show. I mean, even though it's a 3 day show, much in the way San Diego Comic Con is. Um, that Saturday is kind of like the big day um, for all of the kind of movie news and things like that. And Marvel always makes sure they're positioned to have a big splash at the end of the show. And it seems like they didn't disappoint those in attendance. So, in case you haven't heard, listeners, I mean, you must be under a rock or something like that. But at the show, people who were in attendance were able to see some footage from Avengers Infinity War. And not only that, they got to meet some of the cast who are going to be in the movie. So you had Avengers, you had Guardians of the Galaxy, you had all the actors attached to that, or as many as were available, um, appear at the show, and they were doing kind of meet and greets and lots of interviews and things like that. And they also showed footage as well. So we're going to get to the footage in a minute. But first of all, I think it's good that we have a look at kind of what Avengers Infinity War is really. For those that don't know, it's kind of the big movie that will be coming out next year. That's going to be like a culmination of everything you've seen over the Marvel Cinematic Universe for the last 10 years. So this is kind of the big, the end game, really, as Tony Stark says in Avengers: Age of Ultron. This is the end game, really. This is what's coming, and a key component of that is the villain of the piece, a character called Thanos. Now, some of you might be asking, who the hell is Thanos? So that's a reasonable question to ask because we haven't really seen him other than at the end of the original Avengers, and then he popped up in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, but otherwise we haven't really seen him at all. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to get Rich Kid to give you a little breakdown of who Thanos is, and why he's such an antagonist to the Avengers. So Rich Kid, you there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Good, good. All right. Well said, man. If you could just kind of give the listeners an idea of A, who Thanos is, and B, why Thanos would be such an antagonist to the Avengers in the MCU, then that would be
Okay.
a good start.
Okay. Well, basically, Thanos has been around since I'll probably say like the late '60s, early '70s, and he's essentially cemented that role of like the big bad for the Marvel universe in general. So when I say that, I'm talking more about the comic books. Wise, obviously, the Marvel universe only has like a certain amount of franchises that it can use, but in the comic books, Thanos is for the whole of the universe. Um, and basically, he's from a race called the Eternals, and the Eternals are actually related in a way to the Inhumans, which is a TV show that's gonna be coming out in September, and something that I've been trying to push Shield TV show. And so basically, he's essentially just called Thanos the Mad Titan, and he's in love with the embodiment of death. So, for example, in us, each thing will have something that will actually personify it. So the actual universe that we live in is something called eternity, and it's an actual person, and we just happen to reside inside that thing. There's different types of you know higher level beings that represent things such as order and chaos, and basically they're just super powered beings, and Thanos happens to be one of them. The thing is that Thanos is actually a mutant on his planet, and that's the reason why he looks that way. The rest of his family are normal. His brother is called Star Fox, and his father's called Mentor, and his grandfather.
Oh, sorry, his brother's called Star Fox. Did you say?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. I didn't even know that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just
Yes, yes, yeah, Star Fox.
I immediately had visions of do a barrel roll in my head.
see, you have visions of that. I have visions of the Super Nintendo one where it just goes minute, 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 and you're like, what? He's not even speaking English.
But
And,
sorry, go on, Richard.
his grandfather is actually the person who created Drax in the comic book. So I'm not sure if they're actually going to follow through on that in the Marvel well, basically in the MCU. But it is something that they do touch upon. There's a little Easter egg that if you watch Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, where Peter Quill mentions to Drax that he should go and visit Earth, then basically kind of it ties things around if you go and do your research. Um, uh, Thanos is literally in love with the embodiment of death, and he will do anything to gain her love. For some reason, she never wants to reciprocate that love back to him, and so his thing is that he just wants to earn it, and in one way is to destroy the universe, and just to gain her attention. Um, Pretty much how what Thanos is. He's a bit of a watered down character now, as compared to like how we first appeared, but he generally is going to work well, I think, for the cinematic universe. And Jason said earlier, everything that we've been watching has been aiming towards this, and he's going to be no walk in the park. Like literally, this is going to be a different ball game when this character finally gets unveiled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's basically the way they've been building up Thanos in the MCU is very much as as you said, no walk in the park. He's going to be the guy who is the antagonist to end all antagonists for Tony Stark and the rest of the Avengers. So it's going to be fascinating to see kind of how they try to approach this really. Could you tell us a little bit as well? Because we got as part of the D23, we got a reveal where some characters were introduced to the MCU that they're referring to as the children of Thanos.
Yeah.
Now, for comic book readers, they might know them by a different name. They might know them as the Black Order. So, Rich, could you just give us a little bit of kind of comic book context as well on the Black Order? Like, who are they, and why, would the Avengers be afraid of the Black Order?
Well, basically, the Black Order are. Oh, give me 2 seconds. The Black Order are basically like the Thanos' little A team that he sends out to go and get his dirty work done. The thing is, as much as powerful as Thanos is, he's also like stupidly smart and like a master tactician. He's the type of person that isn't going to get his hands dirty unless he has to. And if you remember, I think the last time we actually do see Thanos, that's exactly what he says. You see him putting on and he actually just says, "Oh, okay, I guess I'm gonna have to come and get them myself." So he's the type of person that, unless he really has to, he won't do it himself. Um, the Black Order were basically created a few years back by Jonathan Hickman, and that was for the run for the crossover called Infinity. And well, basically, if you're a comic book fan and you're as well, you see that there's been slightly soft reboots in the comic book world to try and make things easier for people to jump from one to the other, especially if they're new fans. But basically, they consist of like 5 people. It's called Ebony Moore. There is Black Dwarf, Super Giant, Corvus Glaive, and Proxima Midnight. Now, the thing is, the reason why they're all such amazing people, and this just shows you how smart Thanos is. They all, give or take, have an aspect of him. So, for example, Thanos is probably the whole package. He is like the supervillain version of Batman on a cosmic level, right? So you've got somebody like Corvus Glaive, who is his right hand man and is like an amazing fighter and is super super smart. And then you've got somebody like Black Dwarf, who's going to be like the muscle and heavy. And then you've got somebody like Ebony Moore, who deals more in like doing the sly tactics of how to get around and things like that. So each of them will have like their own specific abilities. Um, I wasn't the biggest fan of them in the comic book, just for the simple fact of that I know how powerful Thanos is, and it just felt like they just had to bring these characters in just to try and depower him a little bit. But then it's also going to make sense for when it comes to the movie, because you're going to have like 60, 70 people, or well, let's say, well, sorry, about 30 Avengers going against Thanos, and give or take, as powerful as he is, the way how things have been powered up now, and they've set certain rules in, they could essentially pull it off. But let's say, for example, like with the character of Black Dwarf, he's just going to be the muscle. So already that's going to be set up for at some point and Thor, going against him and getting into some fisticuffs. So that's gonna be one part of the story. You're gonna have somebody like Ebony Moore, who deals in like a certain type of cosmic black magic, going against somebody, let's say like Doctor Strange. Basically, stuff that you've seen in the comic book. So it's pretty much gonna be set up that the Avengers are going to be split up in certain factions to deal. And I reckon what the turnout is going to be is that while these factions are dealing with some of these people, you're going to have Thanos just going off and doing his thing. Like I said, he's a master tactician. So, he'll only get his hands dirty when he needs to. And basically, if everyone else is being kept busy, it's going to be easier for him to, get what he wants, which is basically the Infinity Gauntlet, which will give him complete power over the entire universe. So it's interesting. It's interesting to see how I'm interested to see how they're going to be dealt with, because, like I said, in the comic book, they were introduced and they were houses, but they almost felt like just a stepping stone, just to help progress the story, because nothing has really since been done of them, since the Infinity Gauntlet or since the Infinity crossover. But hopefully, better in the cinematic universe.
Yeah. I mean, I think with the Black Order, I mean, as said, they've changed the name of them here, listeners. So, for those of you not familiar with the comic book, when we're talking about the Black Order, it is the children of Thanos, basically, as they're referred to in the movie universe. It makes sense, I guess, to change that name because of the fact that they've kind of established that Gamora and Nebula were kind of his children. So, when I see that name, I'm assuming that they're going to factor in plot wise some way to, say that these characters, the Black Order, were also his children, but I guess they were the ones who didn't flake out of his, crazy, crazy trading regimes, which we got a kind of glimpse into in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 when Gamora and Nebula were kind of talking about, the kind of things they had to do in their sibling rivalry. So it sounds to me like that's what they're trying to do, is to tie them into the MCU in that way. I would hope that they're not cannon fodder in that way, because they are so cool on paper. I mean, like I think Ebony Maw. I remember reading part of Infinity where Ebony Maw is sent to Earth to retrieve an Infinity Stone from Doctor Strange, and Ebony Maw is a character who uses kind of psychological warfare rather than physical tactics. So it's not quite mind control, but basically he convinces you to do things that you wouldn't otherwise do. And I remember in the issue I read, he convinced Doctor Strange to release Shuma Gamor from hell, basically, to tear apart New York. So I can totally imagine something like that happening in Avengers Infinity War. I mean, whether they'll introduce Shuma Gamor in Infinity War, I doubt it, but certainly something like that I can see happening. So that would be, definitely be interesting to see. And I think Black Dwarf, they've changed the name as well of him. I think they've called him Cull or Obsidian or something like that when I was looking it up online. Which is, I think, is, if I'm correct, is the actual alternative name for the Black Order. But again, it kind of made sense for them to change the name, because I think there's just one too many characters who are called Black in the MCU, to be honest, and it's just getting confusing now. So it makes sense to kind of switch that around and freshen up the names a little bit. But yeah, I mean, like you've got Corvus Glaive, the general, so to speak, the field general. You've got Proxima Midnight, the warrior. You've got Cull Obsidian, aka the Black Dwarf, who's the powerhouse. And then you've got Ebony Maw, who does the psychological warfare. It is a bit of a shame we're not getting the other one as well. I don't know why they wrote her out, but I guess they have their reasons. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing them going up against the Avengers in the screen. And I think you're right, Rich. I mean, I said we'll get to the footage in just a sec, but it sounds like the Avengers, because of the amount of characters they're going to be in this movie, they're going to have to be paired off into different kind of groups almost, and they're going to have their own sort of mini battles with each one of them. So that is going to be hella exciting to see. Alvin, did you know much about like the Black Order before all of this information came out, and now you know about them? Is there anything that excites you about them, really?
No. I just want to see the movie, man, innit? You know what I mean? I didn't know about it. And then obviously, like, well, once they were revealed and that, I saw obviously Comics Explained did a video on it. Watched that, obviously got the inside knowledge and all that. Just had Richard's tribe about it as well. But nah, because I don't know, I'm not excited for them, innit? But I'm sure they'll be dope. I'm sure the whole movie will be dope. Like, nah, but I'm still looking forward to seeing the movie. I just don't have any connection to these to the Black Order or the Children of Thanos, as they're now called. So yeah, just have to wait and see, and then hopefully what I see will be fucking awesome.
Yeah. Well, there ain't no doubt about that. As said, there was footage of this shown at D23 this year, and well, by all reports, it tore the house down. What they showed, I'm guessing by now, folks, those of you listening, you may have read some of the descriptions for what we got. Some of the scenes sound incredible. Guys, you've seen the descriptions by now, right? I'm guessing. Yeah. It just sounds like insane, absolutely insane. I mean, Alvin, I know you're avoiding spoilers like the plague, but
yeah.
Did you read any of the descriptions?
I only read one bit, and I think it was from Empire magazine, and it said something about Thanos like grabbing a planet or something and smashing it into the ground, like, which sounded fucking insane because I can't imagine as to what the fuck that would look like. But that was the only bit that I decided to read. I decided not to read any other bits, because yeah, like I said, I want to be as surprised as possible, like when they actually finally release the trailer, the teaser.
Hmm. Well, hopefully, listeners will be getting a trailer this weekend at San Diego Comic Con. If we all will it to happen, it will happen. So let's all put our collective positive energies together and let's make them release a trailer for all of us so we can sit here and geek out about it together. But yeah, like I said, the Marvel panel seemed to be amazing. I mean, there was stuff there also from Black Panther. There was loads of costumes there from Black Panther that they had on display, which all looked like as amazing as they did in the trailer that we've seen. So that's just kind of increased my excitement for it. There was also more costumes released for Ragnarok as well, which I keep forgetting is actually around the corner. It's only out in February, so we've not got long to go until that one drops on
You
us.
mean November?
Sorry, November. Yeah, Black Panther's in February. Excuse me. So thank you, Arvid. Yeah.
No worries.
Um, so yeah, we've not got long to wait for that at all. But as said, what they had to show was really really impressive. So yeah, Marvel owning the house as always. But let's move on, man, because it weren't just about Marvel. Disney also showcased one of their massive franchises, Star Wars, and in particular Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Now, as you guys know who've been listening to us, there's one big Star Wars fan in the house here. Well, we're all Star Wars fans, but this guy is a true Star Wars fan. So I'm going to let Alvin take the stage and talk us through what we got from The Last Jedi, because we got some behind the scenes footage, didn't we? And some other like images and things like that as well, right?
Yeah. So yeah, mainly the footage was just fucking, like I said, it was all behind the scenes stuff, but there's like so much in there that you can't kind of. I had to watch it numerous times because there was just too much going on, and like it's all practical stuff, which is really cool. So it's all the animatronics, the costumes, all the like sets, and all the props and all that kind of thing. So yeah, there's some really good stuff in there. I mean, it is something that you do actually need to see. But like I do kind of certain things. Like there's a scene with Kelly Marie Tran's character Rose and John Boyega's Finn, and they're in First Order gear, First Order officers uniforms. So it appears as though they infiltrate the First Order at some point in the movie, or maybe they could be double agents. I have no idea. We see some shots of Leia in there as well. We see Rey hand Luke the lightsaber. His lightsaber, well, Anakin's lightsaber technically. We see there's just loads of stuff in there. There's tons of stuff, and it's just like you even see the new A-wings. They look a tiny bit different from the old ones. They seem a bit more rounded. And like I said, there's just thing after thing after thing. We even see the pod that Finn is in. If you saw the last trailer, you saw him in the pod where he's like unconscious. We kind of see that pod, and not actually him, the shot of him waking up, but we see them rehearsing that shot. And we also see, I think, Finn in what looks like a Resistance pilot's uniform as well. We see some new creatures. There's a new creature called, it's like a little kind of pigeon-looking thing called a Porg, but it's got like big cute eyes and that. And yeah, it was just amazing to see all that shit, because it didn't rely on any kind of CGI or anything. It was just, here are things, and I have no clue as to what the bloody story is to this movie, but I'm hoping it takes Star Wars in a brand new direction as well. And I just appreciate how much fucking practical stuff that they do in these new movies, because it's seeing that stuff get made is just fucking stunning.
It does. I mean, it looks and it makes a big difference as well. One of the things that was kind of a bit frustrating about the prequel movies was the kind of over reliance on CGI. And at the time, I suppose it kind of made sense in terms of what they wanted to do and the kind of story George Lucas wanted to tell. But it is great that they've gone back to relying heavily on practical effects for Episode 7, for Rogue One, and now for Episode 8. It's really, it just adds to an extra kind of layer of authenticity, and it gives them some goodwill with fans as well, because I think that the Disney weren't unaware that people were a little bit frustrated with the way that they were just kind of splashing the CGI here, there, and everywhere in the prequels. So that makes sense to do that as well. Did we learn anything about the plot as such from the footage or from what they released, or are they still keeping that under wraps?
No, I reckon they're still keeping it under wraps. I couldn't really piece things together. It was in no like particular order. I couldn't really spot any spoilers. I think everything that we've seen so far is things that we knew that were going to happen. But like we see obviously a bit of race training as well in there also. But yeah, it's just really kind of built upon what we already know. Like I said, the only thing that I wasn't expecting is seeing Rose and Finn in those first order uniforms. Because I don't know what the hell's going on with that there. For all we know, that could end up being a deleted scene because you never know how these things work out. But yeah, apart from that was like the biggest thing that I noticed in the behind the scenes footage.
Cool. Rich, was you able to check out any of the Last Jedi stuff? And if so, did you have any thoughts on it?
No, I'm pretty much the same as Alvin. Whereas like I just thought it looks amazing. And I can't wait for it. As you guys know, I wasn't really a fan of Episode 7. I was a really big fan of of Rogue One. A big fan of Ryan Johnson, who's directing this one. So I'm just really hoping that he's like you said, like he's going to continue the trend of like trying to push the franchise and the story like forward and in a better place as well. But yeah, but the same thing, I couldn't really piece anything together, and I was just happy with just seeing images, like like seeing Finn and like you said, Luke giving Raid like the lightsaber. This is stuff that I dream about, man. Like, so yeah.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, definitely. Well, this one's going to be one to watch, people. So this is out in December, right?
Yeah, December the 14th or 15th, I believe.
Oh, so it's not on my birthday this year. That's annoying. I'm getting used to Star Wars always releasing stuff on my birthday on December the 19th. So yeah, that's a little bit frustrating. But oh well, not too bad. I can start my birthday celebrations early, so that's not a thing. But yeah, definitely go and check out some of that footage if you haven't seen it, listeners. It does look amazing, especially the behind the scenes footage. It's really eye opening if you're interested in kind of seeing how they put together these Star Wars movies and the amount of work that goes into them as well. Because it's just mind blowing, how much physical kind of work is required to bring sort of these effects to life, and the kind of practical arts that are required to make all of the things that we're used to seeing come to life. So yeah, definitely go and check that out, man. It's a good look. All right. Well, aside from obviously the Disney's has said two big tent poles, they had a lot of their own things that they were showcasing as well. So what I'm going to do is I'll move quickly through some of the other things that came up over that weekend because I'm a Disney fan guy deep down at heart, and I know you listeners are too. So let's take a look at some of the stuff we've got. So we got a new trailer released for a movie called A Wrinkle in Time, which is the adaptation of an old sci-fi book. The book I think came out in the '60s, late '60s, and it's written by Madeline L. Engel. It's a book without giving away too much, because I think the trailer actually did a good job of not giving away too much as well. Essentially it's about interdimensional travel, and traveling to kind of alternative realities and things like that. The main protagonist is a 13-year-old girl, who's a bit troublesome and is a bit kind of seen as antisocial, but is actually quite brilliant. And her father and mother are both scientists as well. And basically, her father goes missing because he finds the key to interdimensional travel, and disappears into another realm. And while he's in that realm, he's kind of stalked by this dark force that you never really see what it is, but it's this malevolent force basically is stalking him. And it's down to Meg to try and bring him home, basically by following the research that her father has left behind. So, as I said, we got the first trailer for this. It's a movie directed by Ava DuVernay, who has directed Selma. She did the documentary 13th for Netflix. And she was one of the first people who was considered for Black Panther before Ryan Coogler was given the job. It looks like she's gone about doing it the right way in terms of it's a very vibrant trailer. Some of the shots are really beautiful as well. And it looks like she's really kind of captured the essence of the book for those of you who've read it. So that's one of my key things with anybody who does a book adaptation. Like if you can capture the essence of the words that as they are on the page and find a way to kind of translate that into the visual medium of film, then for me you've won half the battle. And from what I could see from the trailer, it definitely looks like that. Um, Oprah Winfrey is in it as well, playing a character. Boy, I don't know. Like I'm not sure about Oprah Winfrey. I'll be honest. Um, with Oprah, I mean, I'm not a massive fan of her acting anyway. Really, I think the last thing I saw her in that I thought she was good in was The Color Purple, and look how long ago that was. So, yeah, that kind of tells you about Oprah. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. But otherwise, I think the trailer looked really good. To be honest, so if you guys are interested in finding out about some original kind of sci-fi movies and original kind of takes that aren't necessarily based on like a comic book franchise or something like that, and fancy something different, then go check the trailer out. It's definitely worth a look. I believe Disney have scheduled that for a release next year. I can't remember exactly when it is, to be honest, off the top of my head. I think it might be March or April. Not 100% sure, but yeah, so far so good with that one. So that was looking good, and again, it was well received by the audience as well. So yeah, it looks like they're doing the right thing with that. Were either of you guys familiar with A Wrinkle in Time at all?
No, I had no idea what it was. I saw the trailer. To be honest, I wasn't really that impressed. Maybe because it's more of a kids movie, but
Mm.
it had some interesting visuals in there. But it's not for me, man. I don't think I'll need to see it.
Mm, mm. Yeah, it's very much a kids movie, I must say. I mean, like the book is as well. I mean, the book is essentially is a children's book. So, and when you know it's coming from Disney, then you know it's going to be for Disney's audience. So, you kind of knew what to expect from that, really. But yeah, I was quite impressed as somebody who's read the book. So I enjoyed it. Rich, did you see it at all?
Yeah, I actually saw the trailer today. I do remember hearing it mentioned that they were going to make a film of it. I've never actually heard of the book, and
Mm,
so when I did see the trailer today, it just kind of crept on me.
mm,
I'm actually gonna have to agree with Alvin. Like I wasn't impressed by anything, to be honest. I mean, it wasn't they didn't show me anything that I hadn't seen before. That's number one. And number two, like I see Chris Pine's face now, and I just see Captain Kirk, and I go, no, it's lies. It's lies. Like they would have captured him. He would have done that two-fisted punch, and then he would have just saved the day while kissing a girl. So it was kind of. So I was just like, okay. um,
the
it's got
Kirk
an interesting
double axe handle.
cast. Yeah, double X handle, and then the flying kick, but your legs bent.
Yeah,
It's like a set square.
yeah.
So there's no finesse behind it. It's just pure American muscle that's taking him out. Like, but interesting cast. Obviously, you got Oprah there.
Mm,
I agree with you in that respect that I've never really rated Oprah as an amazing actress. Um, yeah, I think she's just good on a TV show and whatever she does, like giving people cars and shit, and there. Um, Mindy Kaling, I'm actually I like her as an actress, so that she is actually one of the actors in the film that made me say, okay, I might see this. And I'm sure there was somebody else as well, Reese Witherspoon as well,
mhm,
kind of got me interested.
mm.
But the main characters or the main protagonists and Oprah didn't really do anything for me. Like I'm just interested in it just for the simple fact that it's a fantasy.
Mm,
Like people like that, it might be something that I might go see. If not, it'll be definitely something I see with my boy, because I know he's kind of getting into that stuff as well.
mhm. Yeah, definitely. I think Luca will love it actually because it's, as I said, it's all about kind of like interdimensional travel
Mm,
and exploring kind of space and new areas. So yeah, that'll definitely be up his street. And as I said, I mean, admittedly, it's for kids, so you know,
mm,
it's not going to be anything. There's not going to be anything particularly dark or punishing about it. But yeah, you know, if you're a fan of it, then go check it out. So yeah, so we had A Wrinkle in Time. We had the trailer for that, which I thought was pretty good, and then we got some information about The Incredibles 2 as well. This is a movie that people have been waiting for a long, 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 long time, or it feels like a long time for sure. Anyway, the original director Brad Bird is back. And people who were in attendance got to see some footage as well. Unfortunately, none of us like plebs who didn't get in didn't get to see it, and it doesn't seem like it's going to be released anytime soon by Disney. Boo Disney! But from what the descriptions are, it was a really funny scene featuring Baby Jack Jack. Um, they weren't giving away too much details about the plot of The Incredibles 2. Again, they're generally keeping that under wraps because I don't think that's due out until well into next year. But it's Brad Bird was basically saying it's what happens if The Incredibles kind of confront the new world, basically, and the new world being a world of modern technology because with the original Incredibles, it's kind of even though there's no specific setting, it kind of has that retro 1960s feel. But he's saying, this world that they'll inhabit in the sequel is very much like our world. So, you'll get internet, you'll get websites, you'll get mobile technology, satellites, etc., 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 and the different ways that these things impact on different people's lives. So, he will examine with The Incredibles 2 how that kind of that happens to The Incredibles and the kind of effect that it will have on them. All the original cast are back as well, which is always great. Um, they all came out on stage apparently as well. And yeah, that looks to be one to keep an eye out on. So if you're an Incredibles fan, listeners, then keep your eyes open for that one. That one looks good. Looking forward to that, guys.
Yeah, I love the.
Oh
I
yeah,
think it's a really good movie, The Incredibles. I don't watch it enough. I don't think people give it enough credit. It's like fucking. It's a better Fantastic Four than Fantastic Four.
Mm, yeah,
yeah,
great way to put it. Great way to put it. Yeah, Rich, same.
yeah. Like Incredibles is one of like Wreck-It Ralph and Incredibles is my boys. They're two of my boys' favorite films. I literally watch Incredibles at least once a week. But it's one of those things. Yeah, like literally like. What do you want to watch? Incredibles. We watched it like an hour ago. So what do you want to watch? Incredibles an hour ago. Okay, cool. Fuck it. Let's put Wreck-It Ralph on. Um, but Incredibles is actually my favorite. Is my favorite Disney film. Well, Disney Pixar, and I think it's the last Disney Pixar film that I saw in a cinema. I was actually blessed to go and see in the cinema because I haven't seen any of the Toy Stories, anything like that. I've only seen Toy Story on like DVD or like Netflix or whatever. But Incredibles, I actually remember going to see with like an ex-girlfriend, and obviously, is a no-brainer. We're superhero and comic book fans, so I just saw the parallels with the Fantastic Four, and especially the '60s Fantastic Four, which I think is probably easily one of the best eras of that comic book ever. And I've just been, like I said, like a lot of people, I've been waiting for a sequel to come out for this for years. So I'm just really hoping that it does the original justice. I mean, Brad Bird really seems to be on the fucking up and up right now. I mean, he's hooked up with Tom Cruise, so maybe some of that Scientology magic is just making him just get better and better. But he doesn't seem to be putting a foot wrong so far.
Mm, yeah, for sure. So, yep, Incredibles 2 we've got to look forward to next year, so that's going to be a big one. Pixar also showcased some new footage from their latest movie, which is called Coco, which is coming out, I believe, in November. Is coming out. Yes, it is. It's November. Coco's out, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. Like again, unfortunately, they're not showing the footage that they showed at D23. You're noticing a theme with this podcast, I imagine listeners by now. But again, from descriptions, it looks really good. And I mean, when they released their initial trailer, their sort of teaser trailer for Coco earlier, it was a really unique look. And that's one of the things that just blows me away about Pixar is they managed to make every single film they make look unique. Aside from the sequels, obviously, but if you're talking about, say, Toy Story in comparison to Finding Nemo, in comparison to The Incredibles, in comparison to, Coco, to Cars, to Up, they all have like a completely different feel to them. Um, and it's just amazing the way that they keep doing that visually. This one looks like it's going to be a bit emotional as well. So I'm a bit of a softie, so I don't know how I'm going to cope with Coco, but I'm definitely going to go and see it. I might have to kidnap Luca and take him with me, Rich, to see that one. But yeah, Coco really looks good, so I'm really looking forward.
What is Coco about?
Coco basically is about a kid. It's about the Cinco de Mayo festival. And around
Trailer. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, I know. Okay,
he's
carry
in
on.
it, and he's a musician who wants to learn the guitar, and he idolizes this dead musician who was a guitarist as well. This Mexican musician, and then basically for a series of events, he gets pulled into the world of the dead to learn kind of the guitar and to learn how to play and stuff, and goes on loads of adventures presumably while he's there with his dog, because there's always like a cute talking dog in there, although this dog doesn't seem to talk, from what I've seen from the trailers, but I don't know how we'll see. But yeah, that's basically the synopsis for Coco in a nutshell. But yeah, it said it's out in November, so yeah, again, we won't have to wait long to see that one. But yeah, really looking forward to that. So Pixar, as usual, were winning the house, but you mentioned this earlier, Richard. Wreck-It Ralph also had a presence as well. We got an announcement on Wreck-It Ralph 2. I believe the full title is called Change the World, and it's Wreck-It Ralph basically embracing the internet era. So it's going to be him set in the era of the internet. And the big news was that it was also going to feature characters from Marvel and Star Wars in Wreck-It Ralph 2. So they're actually, Disney are being quite smart. They're blending their franchises together, much in the way they did with Infinity, with the the game Infinity.
Yeah.
They're doing a very similar thing with Wreck-It Ralph 2. So that looks like it's going to be awesome as well. So can't wait for that one. What else was there? Okay, so we had the animated stuff. That was kind of the big stuff from sort of animated movies. We then had some announcements for live action movies as well. So I'll quickly run through some of these. There wasn't a lot of detail that was given out too much. There was a confirmation about Dumbo taking place, which is going to star Colin Farrell. And it sounds a bit weird, to be honest, from the plot synopsis, but basically they're going to kind of focus on human characters, and Dumbo is going to be almost like a secondary character.
What? What? That sounds stupid.
Yeah. It's essentially what it's going to be is like Colin Farrell's character, and there's a couple of other actors that were introduced as well. And I've completely forgot their names. Sorry, listeners. But effectively, it's like he's going to be like a circus owner, and his circus is struggling. And then someone introduces him to this elephant Dumbo that they believe can fly. And basically, it's him getting Dumbo to fly in the circus for him. How that's going to go down, I don't know, because as you heard, listeners, from Alvin's reaction, like those of us who remember, the Dumbo cartoon, like that's obviously not the way that the story went. So, and plus another downside with it is it's directed by Tim Burton, and I'm just really getting turned off by Tim Burton these days. A lot of what he's doing is just not washing with me. So I'm not that hyped about this, unfortunately. We'll have to wait and see, I guess. I'll wait for a trailer, but yeah, I'm not that excited. But yeah, Rich, what's your thoughts about Dumbo not focusing on Dumbo?
Listen, I actually think I haven't seen Dumbo. Or if I have, I've only seen it once, and I was like I was a little kid. Just sounds bullshit. Like it doesn't make it, like it genuinely doesn't make sense. So yeah, I won't go and see it. Fuck it. Like I'm a Colin Farrell fan, but like you said about Tim Burton, I don't know, he just seems to be kind of just like losing his way. The last film I saw him do was Mrs. Peregrine's Gifted Youngsters Fake X-Men thing, like and that had a lot of potential, and it just ended up being really boring. So I think maybe do just out of interest, do Disney have like a contract with Tim Burton at all, or is there any reason why they're using him?
I just think they like throwing him money.
I assume they do. Yeah, I would assume they
Yeah,
do, to be honest, because this is what the third Disney
yeah, the
film
third
he's done
film.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I would assume he has some kind of contract with them,
Mm.
and that's possibly why he gets all of these gigs. Um, but yeah, as said, man, like when I realized it was Tim Burton directing it, that really did put me off. So yeah, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see until Disney decide to release a trailer for that one. But I'm not particularly excited for that one, listeners.
Mm.
I mean, you can go and check out some of the photos. Some of the photos from the set look good. It does look very Dumbo-esque for those who are familiar with the cartoon. But yeah, I'm not sure about that one. But anyway, we move on because there was other news as well. You guys may have heard about Aladdin and the fact that Aladdin was due to start filming, I believe, this month, but has actually been delayed until next month because they were having trouble with their casting. Chiefly, they were having difficulty trying to find somebody to play Aladdin. Apparently, they had an open casting call across the world. They've been, literally all over the globe. They've been to London, Ireland, France. They went to Bahrain. They went to Dubai. They went all over the place looking for an Aladdin. Eventually, they finally found one. They found an Egyptian American actor called Mena Massoud, who's going to play Aladdin in the new Aladdin movie.
Wow, that was one hell of an Egyptian name.
Yeah, very Egyptian. Yeah. Now I believe this is his big break. This is going to be his first big movie. From what I've been reading up, Disney were very keen to not cast a known name as Aladdin. They wanted basically somebody who would come without baggage, who would come brand new to the role, which makes sense, I guess, in the sense especially when you look at their strategy with like what they've done with Star Wars and some of the casting around that, and even when you look at what they've done with some of the MCU castings and things like that as well. Um, what they want to do is have somebody that they can tie down to a 4 or 5 picture deal, who's not just gonna up and leave after one movie and go and do something else. So it makes sense, and it means that potentially we're getting a brand new face who may be a new star, depending on how well he does in the role. So yeah, that was interesting news. This movie's being directed by Guy Ritchie. His last movie, as you may know, King Arthur, didn't do too well, but I think he's made a safe bet with Aladdin. I mean, it's going to be pretty hard to mess that one up. Other casting news: Princess Jasmine is going to be played by Nicola Scott, who I had no idea was British, but
Naomi Scott.
Naomi Scott, sorry. Um, and she was in Power Rangers, is that right?
Yeah, she
I
was.
haven't
Yeah.
actually seen that yet. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Uh,
Okay.
but yeah, she's going to be Princess Jasmine. There was a bit of controversy around that because obviously Nicola Scott, Naomi Scott, excuse me, uh, is not Arab. So there was, as I said, a bit of controversy surrounding that in some areas. I'm willing to give her the benefit of the doubt, but speaking to a few Arab people that I know, I did put the question to them, what's the issue surrounding their casting, and somebody kind of explained, and an Arab girl explained to me that um, the story of Aladdin is partly about Princess Jasmine and the fact that Jasmine kind of is rebelling against what can be seen at times to be a very repressive Arabic male culture, in which young Arabic women, particularly at that time, were forced to marry whoever their dad said they were going to marry. And if you guys remember the cartoon, that was kind of like what they were playing up in the cartoon as well. She was, her dad was trying to force her off into a marriage until Aladdin came along.
Yeah, but Disney's Aladdin though isn't like Aladdin. It's their own version.
No, it's not the same as it's not the same as the original folktale. No, that's very true. Um, but she was saying that the idea of an Arab woman sort of freeing herself from this kind of thing is very important to a lot of young Arab girls, and it's why a lot of them kind of identify with Princess Jasmine. So she was saying she's not sure how it's going to go down with them if there is a girl who is not Arab who's cast in this role, how will those young girls connect with the character? Which I thought was an interesting question to ask. I don't really honestly have an opinion either way on it, because I don't know enough about Arab culture either way to pass judgment. But it will be interesting to see whether Disney kind of addresses that within their storytelling and within the script that they go with in Aladdin or not. So we'll have to wait and see, I guess, is the answer to that. But otherwise, I think Naomi Scott seems like a solid choice to me. So shouldn't really have any problems with her in terms of portraying the character in that sense, I think. And then, of course, the other big news from that is the confirmation, although this really was confirmed like months ago, but it's officially confirmed now that Will Smith is playing the genie, which is big news because many Aladdin fans love what Robin Williams did with the genie in the Aladdin movie, and he's become synonymous with that character because of his performance. So Will Smith has really got big shoes to fill there. So hopefully he can take it and provide his own twist and make it just as memorable. But we shall see. What is Rustin Kid Rustin about in the background?
I need to get some chocolate.
A crisp, man.
I need to get some chocolate.
A crisp sandwich.
Chocolate. I need to get some chocolate.
Whatever, man. Crisp sandwich, in it. Salt and vinegar or cheese and onion.
Thai sweet chili.
Good. This is the level of professionalism we expect.
I know, yeah. He don't give a fuck, does he?
I'm hungry, man. I've got to keep my sugar levels up.
But yeah. So that was the big news from Aladdin. Any thoughts on the casting there, guys?
No, not really. Again, don't care about Naomi Scott. I mean, she's half Indian anyway, so like, that's like not too far away, isn't it?
That's worth
what I mean?
Out. Yeah, I mean, it is worth pointing
so it's
out.
like
they've just gone out and got any old white girl and said, yeah,
it's not like they got Nicole Kidman to do it or anything.
Yeah.
Fucking, and also the Will Smith genie thing. I wouldn't say it's a tall order. I know what he's gonna do though. That's the thing, in it. You know what I mean? If you've seen any episode of Fresh Prince, what Will Smith is like when he's like dead over the top and that. Hopefully he doesn't. Hopefully he does his own thing and doesn't try to copy Robin Williams, because what Robin Williams did in that was like so snappy and quick. It was 100% Robin. You know what I mean? So don't try and do that, but he can do his over the top Will Smith thing, and I'll be fine with it.
Yeah, I think that's the key, really. As long as he kind of sticks to doing what he does well, and he has a decent enough script to work with, but has got the room to kind of ad lib in the way that he likes to do as well. And I think he can do a good job. But yeah, I mean, it would be utterly pointless him trying to follow what Robin Williams did. As said, Robin Williams owns the genie of that era, so there's no point trying to kind of go down the road of doing that. So hopefully, Guy Ritchie and Will Smith and the script writers will work out something different there for him to do. Richard, in between your crisp bites, any thoughts?
It was chocolate. I'm interested. I'm definitely interested. Like you said. I mean, the thing is, with the live action versions of the Disney films that they're doing, they do seem to be like their little own spin on them. So that's a good thing. So I mean, essentially, Will Smith, I suppose he could do a good job. It's not as if he's a shit actor. So I mean, we've got that. I think, as much as I'm like a Guy Ritchie fan, there must be somebody sweating. Must be sweating. Like, I'm talking like waking up every hour and just going to the toilet and going to take a big shit. Like, because after the way how King Arthur flopped, and obviously I think Aladdin was signed. I think like the contract was kind of like done up for him to direct before King Arthur was released.
Yeah, it was.
So yeah, and you know that basically the audience, we can be a bunch of like see you next Tuesday sometimes, and once somebody fucks up once, the next thing they're kind of tarnished. I mean, look at somebody like Joss Whedon after Age of Ultron. He's just he had to kind of like leave the limelight a little bit. Yeah. But I'll be interested to see it. I'm interested to see what Will Smith can do. They said they had troubles finding somebody to play Aladdin. Oh, okay, all right. They finally found somebody. Hopefully, they'll be able to inject some new blood, and maybe it's easier and better, like you said, with things like Star Wars and where there isn't a face. that's attached to something else. So you can truly, believe the character that we see on screen. But yeah, I'll definitely see it. Aladdin is probably out of the hand-drawn animated Disney films. That's my favorite.
Cool. Well, that brings it. Thank you for adding that last line, because that segues me nicely into my favorite hand drawn film, which is now become a live action adaptation, which is The Lion King. Again, with the Lion King, there was footage shown that was only shown to people at D23. Nothing has popped up online, but everybody who saw it said it was absolutely fantastic. Basically, it's Jon Favreau who's directed The Lion King. He was the guy who you guys will remember his name from Iron Man and Iron Man 2. And also he recently directed The Jungle Book as well, the live action adaptation of The Jungle Book, which I thought was really, really good. Very, very well done. So he's directing this live action version of The Lion King, and as said, they showed some footage, and essentially the footage they showed was a live action recreation of the opening scene of The Lion King. So I don't know if you two remember that opening scene at all, but it's lots of kind of like sweeping shots across plains with the animals raising their heads in synchronization and things like that. And apparently, yeah, it was just jaw-dropping, like how well the whole thing had been filmed. He spoke quite a lot about the film and was talking about kind of the effects that they're using, and basically, again, like the Jungle Book, they're intending to use as much photoreal animatronics as possible. So you should expect the characters to look like real animals, and not necessarily like they do in the animated movie. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing myself, because as you rightly said, Richard, they seem to be wanting to put their own spin on these live action adaptations, and not necessarily just retreading what was done with the animated movies. There was a bit of fake news as well, Donald Trump fake news that came out, suggesting that Hugh Jackman was cast as Scar. So I don't know where that report came from, but apparently, like almost as soon as D23 finished, people were spreading news that Hugh Jackman had been cast as Scar. Almost immediately, his publicist came out and said it was categorically not true. Was the quote from his publicist. So as things stand, no, Hugh Jackman is not playing Scar. They haven't confirmed who is playing Scar, which is a little bit worrying for me, because, to be honest, like if Jeremy Irons is alive and available, I don't see why you're not calling him. Especially if you can get James L. Jones to play Mufasa, then there's no reason why you can't get Jeremy Irons back to play Scar. Simple as that. So yeah, we'll wait and see what casting news they come out with that later on. But they obviously confirmed that Donald Glover is playing Simba, and Seth Rogen is playing Pumbaa, which is awesome. Oh, and John Oliver as well, the British comedian John Oliver, is playing Zazu. So we don't have any other news on any of the other big characters from that as yet, but I guess that will kind of come out as time goes by, because that movie's not due out, and I think until like next year, summer or sometime like that. So yeah, I imagine you won't hear anything too big as yet. But The Lion King, I'm really looking forward to. As I mentioned, that's my favorite hand-drawn Disney movie. And I was a big fan of what Jon Favreau did with The Jungle Book as well. So yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to that. You guys, quickly, any thoughts? Are you looking forward to The Lion King?
Alvin?
Well, me, you speak. You open your mouth first, innit?
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I watched it a couple of weeks ago because my boy had never seen it, and this is how like it's how I'm a bad parent, but then conscience kicks in. So I was like, fuck it, it's just me and him in the house. His mum's gone to work, so I'm like, okay, let's watch The Lion King. I generally wanted to watch Lion King because I hadn't seen it in ages, but I also wanted to see to the bit where what's his name gets killed. I just wanted to see. I don't know. I just wanted to see. Like that's fucked up, right? I know. Don't judge me. When you people have kids, then you'll know it. Yeah. So like you get bored. Like, hey, let me.
Oh my days! You wanted to see your child cry. That's disgraceful.
I think he's lost connection.
Oh, has he lost connection?
Yeah.
Oh man. Sorry, listeners. I mean, he must have been, with Richard, there's always a story. So there's probably something that was going to come along from there. Well, Alf, as he's gone, did you have any thoughts?
Hello?
Oh, he's back.
He's back.
Yeah,
Your
yeah, sorry,
camera is
but
on, by the way.
I don't know what happened there. Sorry. Oh, my camera's on. Is it on?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
on now.
yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, hold on.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you asking before we were
Sorry,
rudely
Alvin.
interrupted?
Yeah. Just your thoughts, really, man. Whether you looking forward to the Lion King or not.
Yeah, I dig it. I'm not like Richard.
What's that?
Is your speaker on?
No, I've got my hand free in.
Oh, your connection's gone horrible.
Yeah, you're gonna need to disconnect and reconnect, Rich.
Okay, cool. Okay. I'll see you guys in a second. Hold on. This is what live is like,
Oh, you
man. This
sound
is what
alright.
live is like. It's right.
Yeah. Anyway, shut up now. Let me speak. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure it'll be dope. I'm sure it'll look great. I've not even seen any of these live action Disney stuff anyway. I don't know. I'm just like, maybe I'm dead inside or something. I don't know, but like, I'm sure it'll be good. I'm sure I want to see it because if it's got Donald Glover or anyone else in it, then it sounds pretty decent.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. But sorry, Rich, did you want to finish your story with you and Luca and the Lion King?
Oh yeah. So I was like, okay, let's watch the Lion King. I haven't seen it in ages. Let me see how he reacts to like when Mufasa gets killed. And it's the weirdest thing because we watched it and he didn't grasp what was happening at first.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until like the bit where where Simba's like trying to get him to get up and everything, and then and he like we were lying down on the bed because like I said I've got a busted foot, so he's lying down on the other end, and he kind of didn't sit up 100%, but he kind of sat up and he was like, "Is the lion sleeping?" And I was like, yeah, the lion's sleeping. And he actually went to me, is he dead? And I was like, oh, fuck. And I was like, yeah, he's dead. And he's like, oh, okay. But he'll wake up in the morning. And I was like, just watch the cartoon. And that guilt just kicked in where I was like, oh, man, I shouldn't have done that. But I'm interested in seeing the Lion King live action. And like, I definitely agree with you about Jeremy Irons. When I watched it again, I definitely appreciated it a lot more and was like, shit. Like he's easily, you can see why he's easily probably one of the top 10 villains in cinema history. He's up there of like fucking Hans Gruber. He's up there of like Darth Vader. He's just, like I said, a see you next Tuesday, man. But yeah, I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, so the Lion King is definitely high up on my list as well. So listeners, I suggest you look out for that one because that one I think is going to be really special. And that's it. I think that's going to wrap up our D23 chat. There was some other things that were released. There was a few details about DuckTales, I think, and things like that, but nothing really major, so to speak. But if you want to read up on that, I mean, there's loads of good websites out there that have covered D23 in detail. So definitely pop along to one of those and have a look. All right. Well, as we're coming to the end of the show, let's get to the question of the week. The question of the week this week was a question that we put out on social media. We put one out every week, and as said, we started doing it again last week. This week, the question was, what movie can you only watch once? So in other words, is there a movie out there that you've seen once and was like, nah, I don't need to see that again? Got some very varied answers, and I think a lot of people were kind of looking at it from the point of view of that it was a movie that they didn't like, which it didn't necessarily have to be. I mean, my own choice, I'll tell you my own choice at the end, but it didn't necessarily have to be a movie that you didn't like. It just had to be something that you watched once and was like, no, I for whatever reason I can't do that again. So before I get into the listeners' responses, boys, what was one movie that you can think of that you've watched once from beginning to end and was like, yeah, I've seen it, but no, I'm good?
I'll go first again then, since Alvin is still quiet. I don't know, it's like fucking hell. I actually chose two. So I chose one that would be like a bad film that I would never watch again, and then I chose one that, even though I liked the film, there was actually no need for me to watch it again. So the worst film I've ever seen. In fact, I've got a list. I've only got about three. So for the worst film I've ever seen, Space Truckers. Yeah, with Dennis Hopper and Stephen Dorff and some girl that I can't remember. And I remember buying that on videotape, and the videotape, and the case was so fucking misleading. And I watched it, and I was like, oh my god, like that's an hour and a half gone.
Didn't Space Truckers come out around the time that Blade came out? Because I think that's why you bought it,
Yeah,
wasn't it? If I
yeah,
remember
yeah,
right.
yeah,
It was around the time.
yeah. They
And,
tricked me, man.
and you saw it in, I think it was HMV in Wimbledon or something like that, wasn't it? And you
Yeah,
were like,
yeah, yeah,
oh,
yeah,
yeah. There's this film like with Stephen Dorff called Space Truckers. So I was like, wow, really? I've never heard of that. So I remember you getting it, and then I literally remember like later that night at some point, Richard sent me a voicemail because this was back in the days when you could send voicemails, and Richard was like, "Why did I do this? Like, why? Why have I done this?" That film,
yeah.
listeners, that film is legendarily bad. So yeah, go and check it out.
It was so it was so bad that I lent it to my friend Neville, right? And then Neville was like, "Oh, I forgot your videotape," and I was like, "You can keep it." Like I didn't want it. Like I never wanted to see it again. Basically it's about intergalactic space truckers who are delivering like square pigs. See, they're alone. I should have
Square
known. Fuck
pigs.
it. Square pigs. Square pigs.
What are you talking about?
Square pigs.
Square pig.
Square pigs.
I'm fucking lost, man.
Alvin,
Yeah.
one movie that you have watched once and can't watch again, or won't watch again, I should say.
Okay. Well, mine isn't. It's not that it's a bad movie. It's just that after you've seen the reveal and gone, oh, okay, there is no point to watch it again other than to see people react to that one moment. And that was what's it called again? Predestination.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. Was Stephen not Stephen
Nah, Ethan Hawke.
Ethan Hawke, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, so for me, my choice was a film called The Woodsman, which is like a movie that came out in 2004, stars Kevin Bacon. And basically, the movie is about a convicted child molester who gets released from prison and is trying to rebuild his life, but is unable to do so because he's constantly hounded by the police. He is moved into an apartment which is not far from a kiddie's playground, and then on top of that, his family have disowned him basically. And the film like is just so good in terms of as a character study of somebody who is stuck with that kind of affliction and is stuck in that kind of world. It's so good because it actually makes you sympathize with somebody who you really should not be sympathizing with at all as far as society is concerned. But the film is too difficult to watch. I couldn't sit through that again. Like I watched it once and I'm like, it's a great movie, but there's no way in hell I'm gonna sit down and watch that again because there's a lot of uncomfortable scenes in that film as well. And I'm just that for me was just I couldn't do it. So with that in mind, let's get to the listeners. Thank you to all the listeners who got involved. Big yourselves up. I'm going to give you a big up as a shout out your answer now. So big up to Sarah. She said The Hobbit because it was boring. Yeah, can't really disagree with that. Big up to Joan. She was the one who came up with this question actually. And she said either Eden Lake or Boys Don't Cry. I think she was saying Eden Lake because there's a rape scene in Eden Lake, which is supposed to be really, really nasty to watch. Big up to Gordon, our boy Gordon. He said The Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah, I don't blame you. Big up to Jonathan. He said any M. Night Shyamalan film because the twist would be spoiled. Yeah, true. That's true. They do kind of, a lot of them kind of become redundant once you've seen them once. I think the only one I've been able to watch again and again has been Unbreakable. I think the rest of them, it's just, once you've had that big reveal, it's kind of like, yeah, what's the point? Big up to Yellow Rage Attack. She said, Fantastic Four.
Which one?
The Fan Four Stick.
Oh, right. Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Big up to Broken Elevator Pod. They said The Revenant. which yeah, I actually can kind of understand that because again, it's I don't know if you guys have seen it, but once you've seen it once, it's kind of
Mm.
pointless sitting through it again.
Yeah.
It's that kind of film there where the impact of it will only kind of last that first time you see it. Once you've seen it again, it's yeah, it actually could come across as very boring. So no, that makes sense. Big up to the Basement Condition. They said Be Kind Rewind, which is a film I really liked, but again, I have to agree with them. Really, once you've seen it once, it kind of there's no point in it really. It is when that big kind of Sweden kind of craze took over, where
Mm.
people were kind of making their own versions of Hollywood blockbusters. So it
Mm.
was very much a film of that kind of moment and that kind of time. But if you tried to put it on now in 2017, you probably watch it and be like, "What? Like, what's the point of all of this?" So that makes sense. Big up to Kung Fu Driving podcast. He said, "Requiem for a Dream." Yeah, that does have some uncomfortable scenes in it as well. Big up to Talk It Out podcast. They said Rogue One. I said Alvin's not gonna be
Ooh.
happy with
What? What?
Ooh.
My God.
that. Big up to Glenn and her podcast. They said The Mask 2 or Flintstones 2, either one. And I was like, yeah, well, boy, say no more with those. Um, Big up to Gabriella. She said John Tucker Must Die, which was a fucking awful film. Oh
Hmm.
my god. Like, you guys remember John Tucker Must Die, right?
Yeah,
I know you.
yeah, they're trying to make what's his name into an actor.
Wasn't
Yes,
Ashanti
yes,
in it as well?
yes, yes. Fucking hell, that film was bad. Jesus. Big up to Colleen. She said The Grey with Liam Neeson. Yeah, I could kind of see that, I suppose. Yeah, I suppose so. Mikey B said Kick-Ass 2. Yeah, that was rubbish.
Yeah, that was
Oh.
abysmal.
Yeah, especially considering how good the first one was. That was a real
Mm.
letdown. David said Waterworld or Little Nicky. Waterworld I could probably do, but Little Nicky.
What was a decent film? It's a
Yeah,
decent film.
yeah. I thought it's an ambitious failure, and I don't mind an ambitious failure. Like
Mm.
at least they were trying to do something.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Little Nicky, Jesus, like Adam Sandler, like he put out some good movies, and then he's put out some absolute trash as well.
Mm.
And Little Nicky's one of them. It's really bad. Let's see who else have we got. Liz Diego. She said I Am Legend because of the dog scene.
Mm.
Yeah, that's probably the one scene in the movie that I like. To be honest, is that dog scene because at least it's quite a touching scene. And lastly, Sharpie, she said Sleepers, which is a horrible film. Like it's a good film, but it's
Mm.
oh it's yeah, Sleepers is nasty. Do you know Sleepers, Alvin?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's with fucking what Brad Pitt and all them in it, and when they
Yeah,
were young
yeah,
boys and
Brad
all that,
Pitt,
and like
De
they mash up that guy.
Niro, Jason Patrick, all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a nasty film as well. Not nasty in the sense that it's that there's anything wrong with it. Just nasty in the sense that it's just difficult to watch. Really. Cool. All right. Well, thank you, listeners, for getting involved in that. I said if you want to be involved in next week's question of the week, well, you know what you got to do. You got to follow us on social media. So make sure you do that. Rich Kid, let the people know
Yeah.
where they can follow us at, man.
On the website www.woolongtalks.com. That's us. On Instagram, it's Woolong Talks. You can find me on Rich Reviews on Instagram and Rich Reviews on Twitter as well.
Cool. And Alvin, any news from your YouTube channel? Any new videos people should be checking out?
Well, it just depends as and when, really. But if you want to check out the YouTube, that's youtube.com/, Big A the Manc Geek. You can get me on Twitter and Instagram at Big A85GL.
Wicked. And as for me, listeners, I'm usually on the Twitter. I've started tweeting again, and it's been great. People have been interacting with me, and I've been interacting with them, and I'm planning to do lots more of that. So make sure you follow us on Twitter at Woolong Talks. I'll be happy to have a chat with you about any old shit, really. So because there ain't a lot going on in my life right now. So please do talk to me if you want to. And yeah, that's it. Oh, no, sorry. Facebook. Yeah, you can find us on Facebook as well. We've got a Facebook page,
Oh yeah.
Talks, on Facebook. So if you prefer Facebook, you can hit us up on there as well. And we'll be glad to have a chat with you. All right, that's it. Well, guys, thanks a lot for joining me, man. Listeners, thanks a lot for listening. Again, apologies for my voice. I promise by next week, my voice will be cleared up and I'll be back to normal. And yeah, you won't have to hear me sort of flemming all over the microphone. So, on that note, with that lovely image, I'm going to say goodnight. Rich, say goodnight.
Good night.
And Alvin, say goodnight.
Good night.
And we'll see you next week, people. Peace.